and we'll get wonderful. So, welcome to the Energy for Sales Monthly. This is our live, we call it a live training, live podcast. It's always recorded. You can catch any that you've missed at our Energy for Sales YouTube channel. So that QR code actually points there, give you a chance to scan that. We get asked all the time, where's the recording from last month? And so speaking of last month, Tally Weir joined us, my good friend, executive coach, and really took us. In fact, she had technical difficulty joining us. To clarify, she joined us the following day. We did a recording. So if you didn't get to hear her, jump over on YouTube and catch that conversation. Very impactful, probably 25-minute conversation on magnetic conversations. Always gives me something, Andrew, to when I go to my next coffee or lunch to really think about. And sometimes I'm so agenda driven, right? Or so pushing on something business wise that I might lose that moment. I think there's a yin and yang there. So definitely listen, tune into Tally's conversation if you missed it. And then the one right behind that was social media sales strategies. Went over these in depth for about an hour. If you want to take social media to the next level and really engage, I talked all about how to do that. So catch that one over on the channel and then get registered for the next couple of months. We have November and December upon us, both holiday months. So that'll be the third Monday, not the fourth as typical. So just make that note. And Andrew, man, I'm glad you could join us because last week we launched a real estate and mortgage facing event in partnership with a lot of our title partners. And it was fantastic. The feedback we got was great. I loved some of the reels that you put together and put out on social media. So why don't you give us a quick high level overview of some of our speakers and what went down, what was said and trained on.
Yeah, Accelerate was wonderful. We hosted it for the first year as a virtual event. So for any of you who joined, thank you for being there. But we were able to bring a lot of top folks from the DMV area, as well as Leo Perea, the CEO of EXP, to talk about what agents need to be focused on, but try to make it very actionable and practical as well. So it was different agents speaking on different processes. We had Kristen Francis talking about CRMs and processes. We had Tillman Dunbar from Virginia Beach area talking about mindset. We had Dan Lesniak talking about sales and sales scripts on the phone as a real estate agent, like how to not lessen your value through the things you're saying on the phone. And that was a great session. And then going into day two with Carrie Scholl and day one still Rob too, talking about wealth building and investment as a real estate agent, how to treat your real estate business like a business, treat yourself like a CEO, and stop working so hard in the business that you can't work on the business. So that was a super powerful session.
Very powerful.
Carrie and Leo day two, and then of course yourself, myself, and Michael Rivera from Top Shot Pro with some different aspects of sales, AI, etc. So all that to be said, great, powerful event, tons of great feedback from the folks who attended. A lot of real estate agents, mortgage loan officers, and a few of our title folks were on. I think the most important thing, Tim, coming out of this was make sure you know where to go focus in your business on the right types of activities, because there's a lot of people spinning their wheels with a lot of, I think the stat that was shared was 80% of activities that real estate professionals focus on don't actually drive any result to the bottom line. So it's a mind-blowing stat. Another stat that was out there was only 24% of all real estate agents that hold a license in the US have sold a listing this year. And that came from Leo Perea. Like that, to me, that was mind-numbing, especially with the NAR and the industry that we're in and that we play in, the NAR settlement and all the other commission lawsuits that are in the works and have been in the works. So need to know what to go focus on. Want to catch the recordings and you did not register, you can get access to the 8 hours of recordings for yourself. Solid, just by going to agentgrowthcon.com and registering. Register there, then you'll get access to the recordings for the event if you weren't able to attend. So, I mean, would you add anything else? I don't want to take away from the speakers, try to recap everything. There was so much, but I think each speaker brought a very specific, hey, if you go do this in your business, this will help you grow. And then we were there to kind of connect the dots and encourage people to reach out if they need help accomplishing those steps.
Yeah, I think that the thing I would just say from kind of an outside perspective is if you're a real estate agent on the call today, you may be at your, brokerage's events or your, where you hang your license, you may have your big national event. I feel like what was powerful is you had speakers and players from all these different brokerages, right? Some EXP, some Keller Williams, so you're going to get different perspectives. If you're a mortgage banker on the call, getting access to the recordings, it'll give you great talking points, but not just that, but good perspective and insight to really start to challenge your sphere, right? Going into the new year. So I would highly recommend it. A couple of them were just zingers for me. Andrew, Rob, 100%. I listened to Rob, all of them all over again, but Rob is somebody I'm reaching out to actively to do some things with personally, just to grow me. Leo was amazing. We only had like 30 minutes with him, but what he was dropping, he had just come back from the EXP con down in Miami. So great stuff there. And then of course, everybody was a local DMV real estate leader, which was powerful, I thought, because they're giving us real strategies that are working in this market, not just something abstract from another part of the country. So super powerful. Andrew, thanks for that recap. But let's shift real quick to our title agent focused event. This is exciting, man. So registration, guys, you are the first to know. Registration is live. We go live this week with registration for our January 22nd and January 23rd event. So again, if you're a real estate agent or a mortgage professional on here, this event is geared toward obviously the title partner you work with. Feel free to invite them. It is DMV centric. We're obviously Maryland and in Richmond, but we do have some people from over state lines that drive down or fly in for it. And this is all about sales culture as a title company and really flipping sales as we know it, the historic aspect of title agency sales, flipping it on its head. And last year we had a great time. We maxed out our venue space in Columbia, Maryland. So we moved to the Turf Valley Resort in Ellicott City. But Andrew, what would you share to our title agency sales reps on here? Obviously, get registered. You can do that today.
This one was excellent last year. I think 220 people in Columbia, Maryland, and then we had I think over 120 in Richmond. So no matter where you're at, make sure you're registered. Now, this is specifically for title agencies and title folks. Yeah. But the whole premise, Tim, of why I'm excited about it is in the trifecta of where we work, which is, real estate, mortgage, and title. We have to be better at supporting each other, all encompassing, right? And when you're partnering with title partners, it's important you're partnering with somebody who understands what you as a real estate agent are going through and come alongside with value for those processes. So going back to accelerate, like why a title person or a mortgage loan officer might want to register and watch that or go understand what real estate agents are dealing with is that's going to help you be a better partner. It's all about better partnerships. You need to align with people that are going in the same direction you're going and can help you get there. And so for Energize, this is really where we're bringing and opening playbooks from some of the top title people in the nation on how do you come alongside and be a better partner to your real estate agents and your LOs. Yep. And it's very practical. I think everyone who attended last year caught the vibe, caught the energy. And if you were there last year, make sure you come back and bring a friend, get registered. But again, practicality, great lineup of speakers, and just an immense amount of energy in a cold winter month to get your year jump started. So make sure you register. I don't know if I can put a better commercial than that on it, Tim. So,
well, there's a nice little recap video to go watch from last year's event. So don't miss that. Catch the energy. You can obviously see some of the players. You might even catch yourself in there if you attended last year. But jump in, get registered. Please put stars around, like block off your calendar before it sneaks up on you. January is right around the corner. Holidays are here, right? So get registered, guys. Andrew, again, thank you. Thank you for really working closely with the folks at Top Shop Pro on Accelerate and bringing that to us last week. Virtually, super powerful. And then thank you for all your hard work behind the scenes on Energize. It will be a valuable event come January. So title agency sales reps and folks, owners, get registered. And then we will see you in January. Andrew, thank you so much, man.
Thanks, Tim.
Thanks for giving us a little bit of your life today.
You're welcome. I'm going to hop off. Tim and David,
Take care, brother.
have a great session today. David, good to
All
see
right.
you.
Sounds good.
Nice to
See
see
you.
you as well, for sure.
All right.
David, welcome. Welcome back.
It's good to be back. It's good to be back. It's been a while.
It
Hey, and the
has.
video on that video, I think I saw Andrew in the food line. Imagine that.
It's good. It's good when Andrew's in the food line. I said
Yeah, it
you
is.
don't want to be hangry. But no,
That's No.
it'll be a great event. So David, it's good to be back. Obviously last month I was sharing earlier on the call that Tally joined us, did a fantastic job talking about magnetic conversations. Now coming into today, really want to think about budgets and pipelines and really where our headspace is on not just throwing numbers on the board, not just assuming that somebody's going to grow with us, but really taking it in a whole different way of thinking. Or maybe if you do really, really well at budgets and pipeline management, just maybe a few things you haven't thought of, hopefully that you'll get out of this call. So, but pipeline management, David, my goodness, something that I think is a skill that oftentimes we may be a little bit lacking in, or we're doing it a certain way, but we're not really necessarily communicating out to the people in the pipeline, telling them where they fit in the pipeline. I like to say it like this. It's not a lack of relationships. I mean, everybody on this call, you have relationships. You do probably an amazing job at, relating with people, keeping your sphere of influence in the know of what's going on. You're at the golf events, you're at these mixers, you're doing a great job with relationships. So it's not a lack of relationships, but rather I believe it's a lack of relating our relationships, business with ours and ours with theirs. It's a lack of relating with those relationships where their business meets ours and really just putting those metrics on paper together, so they know how they're playing with us and us with them. So that's what we want to dig into a bit today. Yep. But David, what comes to mind when you think pipelines, man? I mean, is it the best conversation you've ever had with the people you coach, with your team? I mean,
when it's a real pipeline, when it's based from reality and strategy, and really being in lockstep with your clients, especially your big clients. For this entire year, and really for years now, Tim, we talk about formalizing and really getting strategic from your client base, from your prospect base, your A, B's, and C's. Where am I going to grow? Where does my vision and our future solutions as they evolve, where is it going to be a good fit? And it's really just a logical continuation of having those really business-centered types of conversations.
Yep.
Yes, we're connecting well, but are we really connecting at that level of understanding is where that client is going to go? As in hockey, you need to go to where the puck, not where they are, but you need to move to where the puck is going to be. So same scenario, really understanding what you're going to bring to market in the coming year or years, what that path looks like, whether it's a technology path, a solutions path, and then understanding that same depth level, where your clients, what's important to them, where do they see their future growth, and where do you fit in that? How much of that can you enable them, and how much can you really receive back those new solutions that added business growth. So again, it's moving into those business type conversations, which each conversation should be a little part of that. No, if you're at a ball game and you're taking their family out, no, that's not necessarily the time to talk about vision, but you should be in lockstep. I mean, we sit here at the end of October. I can't believe it. The year's almost gone. And we're all asked to present our projections for next year. So how much due diligence, how much connectivity are we going to have to make that a proper goal and set proper targets for ourselves?
It's fantastic. Yes, we are all tasked with it. And if you're a small business owner, you may be tasking yourself with it. If you're a part of a sales team, you may be being tasked with it. But regardless of where you fall, owner versus sales manager versus sales representative, or in business for yourself, or whatever the case may be, we have to change our mindset right off the bat and say, um, business growth it's not a hope strategy. I always say hope is a great virtue. It's a horrible business strategy. Um, so we need to approach it, I believe, with just some first and foremost awareness and some taking inventory of ourselves and our businesses of where we are today. So I would just ask this, jot this down, answer in the chat if you care to. You don't have to, but jot this down. Last year, my business grew by this percent, or declined by this percent, or it stayed the same. It did either one of those, right? You grew by a certain percentage, you declined by a certain percentage, or you stayed the same. Now, how do you feel about that? Right now, if you're up, you're like, man, I feel great. Okay, who did that grow? Who was responsible for that growth? What client? What customer? What happened well? What went well for that growth to happen? If you declined, what happened? What went wrong? What went well? There's probably still some accounts that did well. What went well? What didn't go so well? Take some inventory, because I believe somebody once said, "What gets measured has the potential for improvement."
Mm-hmm.
What gets measured has the potential for improvement. And the problem, I believe, is when we come into a new year, if we're being tasked with, hey, here's a budget, put a budget together, a lot of times it's like, we want to see the numbers up next year. So what do? We take all of our good clients and we just throw a, upward percentage on everything. And does that take work? A little bit. Does that take a lot of intellectual thought? And, now you might actually dig into the budget and actually put some intellectual thought per account, per type, per what the industry's doing with rates. And you may put numbers on certain segments of your business. I'm thinking a mortgage banker here, right? You may go out to your database and think, okay, who's likely to make a move? Who's likely to do this? And you may segment it off by percentages. Who hasn't done something with you in the last 3 to 7 years? There's a higher likelihood. Who am I talking with currently? I think we put some intellect into that if we do that. But what usually happens then is we stop there and we don't necessarily extend that conversation to the person we're actually talking about, and that's our client. So if this sounds interesting at all, as far as how do I pull my client or my prospective client into a pipeline conversation as I'm doing my pipeline planning, if that sounds interesting, or if that sounds like, yeah, tell me more. Yeah, I want to grow myself in this, because trust me, I'm working and growing myself in this all the time. Drop something in the chat. Drop a 1, drop a 10, drop a fire emoji, whatever. Drop something in the chat. Does that sound interesting, right? Extending the conversation around pipeline planning to our clients, good clients, middle of the road clients, bad clients, prospective clients. So David, what would you add there, just as far as thinking like a CEO and really looking at the numbers, taking some good, honest inventory of the last 12 months?
Well, we teach a lot, BANT plus C, budget, authority, need, timing, competition, understanding what your competitor, what they're doing, how they're growing. Yeah, some companies will just go take a 10% increase and they'll be done with it. To really make a fair assessment of where you're going to land and what you want to commit to is really those C-level conversations, those discussions with your client's leadership to understand their vision. And there's nothing wrong with letting them know, Tim, as part of my quarterly business review, or part of my review with you, as you can imagine, we're at the end of the year, I'm tasked with crafting what is my growth going to be like. And I'm wondering what I can expect in our relationship. If you have that depth of relationship, it's a very easy conversation to have, especially if you're marrying their vision that you have captured along the way, understanding where they want to be in 2025, 2026, and extend that out. I mean, where they want to be in 2025 is important. Where they hope to be in 2026, now's the time to begin to invest in that. So marrying your past conversations, your vision conversations, what is your competitor doing? Are there areas that they're making progress and eroding a single line of business from you, is super important. And in that conversation with your key contact, understand that, hey, we see some movement from ABC company in this area. What are you seeing? Well, yeah, we're seeing that. We're talking to them. No, we don't like them. We would not consider it. I mean, there are other things. And then, hopefully gaining even greater lion's share of the business. I've always felt that the goal is to get your fair share of business from a good partnership. And then how can you then go and increase that client share? So it's not really rocket science. If you're paying attention along the way, where that organization wants to be. And some of them, I mean, someone could be retiring and wanting to decrease their footprint, decrease the amount of offices, the amount of people they have. And you need to be aware of that, because if you're thinking, okay, I'm going to get 10% more out of Tim's company, but Tim's in a whole different growth trajectory, almost a negative growth trajectory to packing in a little bit, you need to be aware of that. So having the conversation regardless of where it goes. Someone might say, hey, we're fine with what we do. I don't see us growing. We'll continue to do the same amount of business. Well, then you're not going to get a lift there.
Yeah.
Understanding, are there other parts of their business that they are funding more greatly than they are today? Again, it's all in those conversations, paying attention, and having those business level conversations around growth and how your solutions, your services can help accelerate their growth, especially if they're a strong partner.
That's good, David. Everything you're talking about, obviously, solid, business to business conversations. For our title partners on here, you're going to want to sit down with your referral partners, your real estate agents, your mortgage bankers, and really ask them, right, where they're headed with your company. If you had a great year with them, sit down, have a business conversation with your business partners. Now, let's talk about real estate agents on the line, mortgage bankers. How do you extend that conversation, or how do you plan that? Before we talk about the conversation piece, let's talk about planning. How do you plan around the different segments of your book when it comes to consumer, right? Your B2C. I believe by analyzing the simplest of things in our business and asking honest questions of ourselves, we leverage hindsight and gain clarity moving forward. A lot of people don't leverage hindsight. People say hindsight is 20/20. If it is, then that means we got an amazing set of glasses to see things clearly. And a lot of times we don't leverage. We don't slow down long enough to leverage the 20/20 vision of hindsight. So how do we do that? Ask ourselves some questions. Here's one for real estate agents and mortgage bankers on the call. Sources of business last year, right? How well did they work out for me? Just really ask yourself. Referrals, open houses. And just think about referrals. Name 3 or 5 referrals that really worked out well, brought new business in the door. Okay, who is that attached to? Who's like a master connector for you, right? Because sometimes those people fall through our cracks. We're busy on B2C. We're taking care of our consumer, and that referral partner, they fall through the cracks. They may need a gift this holiday cycle, right? They may need a thank you, a piece of gratitude. Think about open houses as a source of business. How do those work out for you? Are they effective? Are you still showing up? And are you showing up? Are you doing things a little different, or just kind of staying the same? What percentage of your business came from open houses? Online leads, social or local farming, like that area of your business. How is that working out for you? Does that need to grow? Has it shrunk? Does it need to grow? Do we need to invest more time, more monetary emphasis there? Like what does that look like? Networking. Are we networking? Are we networking well? Right? What events are we in? Some people that I talk to, they're in the same event they've been, or the same networking group they've been in for years. You can check out David's and my talk about 6 months ago on to be an I or not to be an I, right? You need to really, more than anything, and we weren't targeting B and I, but more than anything, just ask yourself, are you getting bang for your buck or bang for your time? Because time is money, right? How is that working for you? And then other sources of business. Maybe there's some new areas that have come to you because you've leveled up. So you're having some new business niches come to you because you're showing up, you're trying new things, And you need to say, I want to double down in this commercial line, or I want to double down in this type of, life scenario that I speak to well. I was talking to actually on our Accelerate event last week, and I think he's I'll get the brokerage wrong, but he's 30 under 30 influencers. I think in the real network, I could be wrong, but anyway, brokerage aside, he said my niche, and he's under 30 here. He said my niche is senior folks. My niche is senior folks. The way I care for them and some of his backstory of his life, I'm sure influenced that, but he knows his niche and he's doubling down, and he's 30 under 30 because he knows where his source of business needs to be. So I think that inventory has to happen with, where did I do well? Was I all over the place, or have I figured out where? Somebody said that riches are in the niches, and it's true. Like, where do you need to niche down and really dig deeper, right? Going into this next year. So again, pipeline planning, right? So let's talk about, David, what's in the pipeline and the conversation, because you did mention BANT plus C, and I want to dig into that just a little bit, because I believe the end of the year pipeline planning needs to take into account that there are customers of yours who are what we call growable, and then there are customers of yours that aren't growable. There's no area for growth, and you need to understand so you can segment that and spend time in. I don't want the word spend, David. Yeah, it's like one of our bad. Invest time where it matters most. So, yep. David, let's talk about growable, not growable. And then also, how do you take that finger in the air with prospective agents who haven't even sent you a contract yet, who haven't chosen you as their real estate agent, or who haven't, placed business or signed with you? How do you take that approach to growable and maybe not even signable when it comes to your prospects? Because at the end of the day, we're talking about some sophistication here in sales, pipeline management. Companies will move forward and make their plans for the new year, their expansion plans, their resource investment plans. They do that around potential growth. And that potential is forecasted by none other than us, the illustrious sales team. How do we put a better business CEO hat on looking at these numbers? So, David, let's talk about growable. Who are some growables? How do we look in our database right now and say somebody's growable or they're not?
If you don't mind, before we go there, one thing, as you were talking, that you need to investigate also are your mediums. Like, what activities are you doing? Like, I'm getting a better lift from video. Then you need to do video more. These are the things that will help you grow. We talked about, client types, but also in networking and those type of events. But also look at how you're reaching people. Are you doing anything? Did you do something a little bit that got a lift? And who was it? Was it Jeff Bajorek that said it worked so well that I stopped doing it? Someone that we had on. So, really investigating everything. As far as the growable versus not growable, and it's okay to spend time with folks that are a client that aren't going to grow, that just fill your cup because you enjoy being with them. We had a matrix of approachable, not approachable, growable, not growable. Time is a commerce, and so we have to use our best use of time, our BUOT, into those areas that will help us grow the business. And in any way, shape, or form, even with those that we enjoy being with, that are not going to double our business, we're not going to 10x it through that relationship. It's still an important relationship to have, and you still should be pressing on, what does 25 and 26 look like? What areas are you looking to grow? How can we be part of that growth? Because I'm growth minded myself. So you always have that. And again, those, of course, we've talked about referrals. Those are people to have introductions asked for. If you're in an environment where you actually can impact your targets and put a dollar amount out there, then you're very fortunate. A lot of us can't. A lot of us get handed down a number, and then we have to go figure it out. Now, current team I'm working with, we've been looking at 2025 from a renewal perspective for the last 3-4 months. We have to get ahead of that. So we're having those conversations. We know where the risk lies. We know, are they going to renew their long-term agreement? Do we sense that they might go into an auto renewal? What's our competitor doing in there? What's their mindset? So even still, with those of us that a number is handed down to us, we have to really get deep and look at it, especially in our larger clients, and have those conversations to see what growth looks like over the next few years. But if you don't know them well enough to understand it, are they growable? Are they not growable? Do I have a partnering relationship around my vendor? Then that work has to get done, and it has to get done pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Or else you're just going to say it's going to be stable. My revenue is going to be stable, and that's a dangerous spot. Both if you're not sure if you can even get to that level. A lot of things are going to hit us. We're going to have an election here coming up in a couple of weeks. Most of us have probably already early voted. What's it going to be like on the backside of that? Could be the same regardless of who gets elected. So there's going to be a lot of things, even these conversations of growth in 2025, that are going to be dependent on outside factors outside of your relationship and their business, and how you can help accelerate their business.
And the worst thing that could happen for any of our businesses right now is letting an election year, or what's going to happen on the backside, stop us or cause us to pause for whatever reason to start having these conversations about our pipeline with our clients who this pipeline revolves around.
Yes.
In the new year or the first quarter, and apparently somehow their business dropped off with us, and it's like, I had budgeted big numbers for this company or this person, and they're gone. They're nowhere to be found. Or I budgeted with these people I have not talked to or haven't placed, opened a loan with me in 3 to 7 years, and I just saw them post on Facebook that they went with somebody else. How dare that happen? Okay, that's fine. But what are we doing now to have that conversation now with them? David, it would be like me planning Thanksgiving dinner with you and Susie, me and Jen, you and Susie. And I make all the plans on my side with Jen. We drive all the way back to Nashville and knock on your door. And Cody and everybody else is gathered around. Now, would you be gracious enough to make a seat at the table for me and Jen? 1,000%
Always.
You would. I think my Lyft driver last time I left your office mistook me for your son and said, was that the rents? I didn't even know rents was a word. He's like, was that the rents? You enjoy your time with the rents? I'm like, rents? Yeah, parents. I'm like, oh no, that's my business colleague. But long story short, I feel like this is the approach we take with our budgets and pipelines. We don't go talk to our most valuable. And here's the thing. It might be hard to go talk to a prospective customer today about where they fit into the pipeline and what you see and the vision you have. I'm going to get there. We'll talk about that in a second. It might be hard to talk to a prospect who's not even using you yet. But your good clients, the companies that are working with you, the customers that have worked with you in the past. And if you're, again, B2C and you're like, well, their cycle isn't like they just worked with me. Okay, great. But they know 15 other people who could potentially work with you. So there's referral value. How are you going to map out some referral value into your pipeline and have that conversation with your past client, right? So again, pipeline planning, one of the biggest, I think, growables, if you're a real estate agent or mortgage banker right now listed on this call, one of your biggest growable sources of business should be the referral category. Because somebody once told me with referrals, you ask early and you ask often. And this is the time to reach out and thank them. It's the holidays, and ask for a referral. Who's moving a family member in? Did you know, David, not one real estate agent reached out to me anytime in my life to say, hey, you ever think about moving family to Virginia? Well, guess what? When I moved my mother-in-law next door, I got to pick my real estate agent. Had somebody seeded that thought with me or was talking about that, probably would have thought about that person as I was moving my family member. But there's people in Michigan that hate Michigan right now, want to move to Maryland, right? And it's about having these conversations with our pipeline, with our past clients, and saying, hey, maybe you thought about this. The holidays is a time for a family. Maybe you thought about moving family. Listen, I just helped somebody move their mother-in-law next door. It would love to, maybe not mother-in-law next door, but side joke. But no, so just I think that we have to look at our businesses, at our pipelines, and ask ourselves, how robust is it? Because in 2025, our sales do not need to be ambiguous. There does not need to be guesswork here. We need to actually build a plan. This is your business, and we have to look at it like that. But David, you mentioned growable versus non-growable, and here's what I want to challenge everybody. If you've not ever read this old, and my blurred screen is probably not going to let me share. There we go. The 80/20 principle. Dude, I'm actually flipping through this book. I'm just going to share a personal story. I'm flipping through this book, and looky, this is funny. This is my business card. Senior account manager for 10 years, Turner Machine Company, worked there 10 years, led the sales team. And no kidding, man. This was like our book club. Like, I still have my notes, but this changed me because I was realizing that a lot of people who were not growable, they would call me and I'd get on the phone and we talk for an hour. There was money lost in all these gaps of my time being spent, truly spent, with 80% of my clients that were not growable. They were good clients, but some of them needed to move to house accounts. Some of them needed to be delegated. And I needed to look at the 20 top clients. By the way, the 80/20 principle, 20% of your clients give you 80% of your business. Write that down. And in life, the 80/20 principle, it relates to a lot of things, but 20% of your clients. Here's my question for everybody. Could you tell me who those 20% are? That's the start. Because once I did that, once you and the sales team and I, David, once we like divvied out or we dumped it to Excel and then we put in there 20 or 80, 20 or 80. We just went down the Excel. Really, the 20%, it was really small. And what do we measure? Just revenue and profitability. Like the money coming in and how profitable were they? And some of who we thought were good customers, they are actually terrible customers because they cost our company. They cost our company a lot of time and energy, and they weren't really profitable. So we got honest, and then it was like light bulb, because some of my best customers, they were very easy to work with, and therefore I didn't spend a lot of time with them. And some of my 80% of customers were the dramatic, where the ants in their pants, needed everything in a heartbeat, and I would always drop stuff for them. And I was like, wow, it was eye-opening. So as we get into the new year and planning expenditures and planning our time investment, make sure and here's a quick, simple exercise. Dump your database of all your book of clients, dump it into an Excel spreadsheet. You can go back in your CRM and mark 20 or 80, like you can mark that later, but dump it into Excel and then just honestly go down, just the company names, just mark down 20. And you want to look at some of the revenue, and you might have some metrics like year to date or past year to date, prior year to date, current year to date. You'll see that there's some growth trajectory happening with somebody over the last 3 years with you. It probably means you're serving them well and doing well, but you should sit down or want to sit down with that company and say, hey, look, we've grown over the last 3 years together. And so you need to mark them as a 20%, bringing 80% of the business. Then you need to look at the people who have flatlined, and you need to ask yourself, are they even growable? Do I even know? Have I dug in with them, or are they just evenly spreading the business out between me and 2 other people? Like they have 3 real estate agents and they're just, whatever, or whoever it is, right? If there's an investor working with you, or if you're a title company working with a real estate agent, find out, dig in. Do you even know who the competition is, right? So this is where just dump your companies or your clients into an Excel, look at the revenue, look at the profitability, and then mark down 20 or 80, then sort your Excel by that column and look at all your 20s. And then now you've got your plan. You want to spend 80% of 2025 with that right there. Now, if you're thinking about your prospects, because you don't know yet, who in your prospects looks most like that 20% up at the top of your Excel? Their DNA looks the same. That's the key. That's really the only guesswork we need, but really the guesswork doesn't have to be there, because we're going to talk about how to go talk to those prospects about partnering up and doing business. But before we dive too deep, do we even know who the competition is? Do we know why they flatlined? Are they truly just not growing, or is that growth going elsewhere to the competition? So that's where, David, you mentioned BANT+C. And I know that's part of a whole discovery training we'll do later. But I put it in the chat just so you guys know. Budget, You need to know your customer's budget. If it's B2C, you're talking real estate agent to home buyer, like, are they looking at making a move in 2025? Budget. Do they have the budget for it? Are they waiting on rates? Are they not? Are they looking to move? Do they have somebody move here? Referral, right? Authority. Do they have the authority? Is it a spouse? Are you actually dripping your marketing on the right person? Need, timing. Like, do they have a need? Is 2025 the time? So that's BANT, but then plus C, who's your competition? Are they currently talking with another real estate agent? What do they love about that person? Have they worked with one in the past? Yeah, 3 years ago, but we've lost touch with her. Okay, great. I would love to, have a conversation, right? So the plus C is the competition. So David, anything to add there when it comes to the 80-20 column in Excel, the exercise, going through any of that, and then understanding who the competition, or I didn't even talk about the decline. If somebody's declined, that's a whole nother conversation we'll get to, because you need to have that conversation with. But
I think that for folks that this is new to, a great place to start with your existing clients, your existing relationships, list them. And if you haven't had the in-depth conversation to understand what 2025 looks like, hopefully some of these you have, most of these you have, what 2025 could be, then it gives you a platform to have that conversation. Hey, I listed all my great clients. Some I had vision conversations about what the next year is going to look like. We had not had that, Tim. Like to invest 30 minutes to understand what you are planning 2025 to look like. It was interesting. I saw an article this morning on LinkedIn where a local IT managed services firm was talking about budget and talking about how it matches to vision. And while an organization is going to grow, how are they planning their IT spend, their managed services spend? And is that going to fuel the type of growth that they expect? So definitely a popular subject, whether, to all of our clients, they're probably doing the same with their clients. But if you don't have a good feel for what the coming year should be, what type of revenue, the number of deals, the types of deals you might help them with, then now's a good time to do that. We still have 13, 14 weeks. Yes, it's the end of the year. We're going to lose time in the holidays. Though that's a good start. List them. And, Tim, you brought up some very important trending. I'm not always the strongest on data, but we do need to have some data. What was their spend with you 3 years ago, 2 years ago, this year? That can tell a story. If it's growing, hopefully you've been appreciating that. And but you also need to understand why that growth. Is there a competitor that they used to use that they have fallen out of favor? That you definitely want to know. So put some data, but make it simple. If you haven't had those vision conversations of what 2025, 2026 looks like for them, and what is their growth trajectory, if there is one, then now's the perfect time to have that, because they're setting their budgets. They know what they're going to spend here in a little bit. You just need to figure out how much of that spend you can get.
Man, when you were talking, I'm jotting this in the chat for you guys. It's so very powerful, because really this just takes the sale out of it. And David, I think this would be a great time to talk real quick about the philosophy here of people hate being sold, but they love to buy. Okay. And I know a lot of pent up interest is happening. You guys heard Eric Sachs on the last technology and marketing and sales call we did. Eric is a past real estate broker, super successful business person. And he was quoting Tom Ferry, where Tom said that in any average year, 3% of the contacts in your phone, right? Your contacts, your sphere, 3% will make a move in real estate. Well, Tom Ferry, right, renowned coach in real estate, said that with all the numbers that they've looked at, with the interest small drop and all the pent-up demand, it's going to be 6%. It's going to double. So 6% of the contacts in your phone are going to make a move in real estate. So people love to buy. People are waiting to buy. We can't control that. The inventory, the rates, that's all outside of our control. But what is in our control is the connection with them. And too often we're trying to sell them. They hate being sold. So with that in mind, David, you said it. I'm meeting with my best clients. I'm putting this scripting because we're about to get to the conversation piece. And then David, you didn't even I don't think intentionally say this, but it just it naturally flowed off your tongue because this is how you're having your conversations. I'm meeting with my best clients to discuss 2025 business needs. We've not had that conversation yet. So there, right there, that's a beautiful little bridge right there. We've not had that conversation yet. The assumption is I'm sitting down with all my clients having a business conversation. We've not had it yet.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to understand, and David, this is where it was so beautiful. I would love to understand your plans for 2025 when it comes to, you fill in the blank. I like to understand your plans. Not, I would love to share with you how I've planned you into my budget. No. Now, in that conversation, are we going to get there? Hey, we've done this amount of business. Could we look at increasing that? What would it take to increase that into 2025? I value you. I want to work more with you. What would it take? That's where we're going to go. But look, I would love to understand your plans. You. So, David, philosophy here, right? Sell versus help them to buy.
Yeah. So it's interesting. I grew up in a world where, and even when we started our platform a decade ago, Tim, owning the selling process, that was the big buzz, right? How can I own that selling process? And then that shifted positively, properly, thank goodness, into how can I, as a professional salesperson, help them on their buying journey. And so really the last 6 weeks or so, I've been thinking it's just a simple, like the difference between owning the selling, process and owning the buyer journey. But the more it sunk in, if I stay focused on helping them buy and creating the best buying journey for them, but really understanding, it moves me to a whole other place. Always, we've talked about it from day one. We need to get on the same side of the table with our clients and future clients. We have to do that. But it's even a step above that. If I am concerned with understanding why Tim wants to buy, why he buys, why he's going to buy this, and I really am understanding what he buys, then I almost shift into a consultative role. I'm a consultant. I'm not a salesperson anymore. I'm not selling him anything. And yes, we've all heard people like to buy, they don't like to sell. But over the past 6 weeks, it's just like it's deeper than just saying selling versus helping them buy. So if your mindset, if your heart, if your soul is not on that side of the fence of helping someone buy, I was telling Tim, I don't know the industry as well as he does, but say for instance, I'm a real estate agent and Tim's one of my contacts, and I have 5 properties that I'm also listing. And Tim is telling me the things that are important to him, the school zones, the size of the house, the type of yard, all these things. Am I looking to find those 9 things? Or am I in my mind saying, well, I've got these properties. This one's 5 of the 9. Let me sell Tim on, do you really need to be in that great school district? Or do you really, an extra 15-minute drive to the office? Is that really part of it? See, now I'm selling. Now I'm selling. I'm not helping Tim buy. I should be helping him find all 9 things that are super important to Jen and to Tim and his family. So how often do I find myself slipping into, well, I sure would like to get double commission on this because I got this thing as close to what Tim, can I sell him on that? Can I sell Jen on that? Who is the one that's like really going to throw their flag in the ground over this one, whether it's location or something? And now am I strategically thinking, well, okay, well, that was Tim. So let me go work on Jen a little bit. Let me see if I can get her into one of these properties. So it's a simple philosophy, but I think day to day we can catch ourselves selling versus helping someone buy. Again, I've lived in this house too many years. I haven't moved. I haven't bought a new house forever, but again, help them buy wholly. You still might find they say, hey, that's great. Show me that. You showed me that property that didn't hit all the buttons, but I really liked it. Can we see that again? So,
David, I absolutely love it. And I think that it comes down to, again, if you have the posture of helping somebody buy versus selling, you will go in with a whole different set of questions. You'll even as you present a solution that you think might be a solution, it's like, hey, may not be a fit. I came across this one. You tell me. I want to show you. You tell me. So basically, you're going into it with like, David, you have the power to disqualify what I'm going to show you. You have the power to say no to what I'm going to show you, but I'm going to show you because I'm thinking about you. Like you could always enter with something, but again, it's helping them to buy. Let me help you poke some hole. Hey, if you want to go look at something and just let me be there to poke some holes in it with you. I want to be there for you, or look into it, or help you research it, or whatever. Whenever you take the need to win it out, because what's the win? Your win. But if you put the need for them to win, for it to be a win for them, that whole philosophy starts guiding you in your presentation, in your outreach. Dude, it changed everything for me when I was doing business consulting when I first started, after I left Turner after 10 years and went into actual sales coaching and working with sales teams. I would go in and I would say something to a sales leader like, hey, this may not work. This may not fit with what you're looking to do, but I've been having a lot of success with X, Y, and Z company. You kind of seem like you're doing some similar things as a team. Help me understand, like, could we jump on a 20-minute call? Help me understand what you guys are doing. And listen, I would love to share. It may not work, maybe a version of this, but I would love to understand how you guys go about bringing a trainer in or whatever. What was I doing there? I was trying to understand how they buy. I was trying to understand, maybe they're doing it today a certain way, but they want to grow up into a bigger company and do it a certain way. So I just wanted to, so at the end of the day, it wasn't getting all stuck around the perfect script, or I got to say the perfect thing. You know what that'll do? That'll make you procrastinate. You get so hung up on how you're going to sell something, how you're going to pitch something, it will create procrastination. David, I'll tell you what's been one of the best things for me is delivering value out to our network, because it's a consistency, but not more than the consistency. At number one, we always, when you and I talk, we always say, will this be valuable to this time in our people's lives? So while we're talking about budgets and pipeline stakes, we're getting a ton of pipeline and budget questions in. So yes, it'll be valuable, but then it also, by doing it, by reaching out, by having the conversation, it creates this, no, we're just going to bring value. Doesn't need to be perfect. Probably not for everyone, but it'll resonate. It'll resonate with certain people. And I mean, looking at how many people jump on today, like I can tell you, pipelines are at the forefront of a lot of people's minds. So everybody who's here, thank you. But so to your point, David, here we go. I just put in the chat. I'm meeting with and you put in there whatever you want. I'm meeting with my past clients. I'm meeting with my best clients. I'm meeting with clients who I've not heard from in the last 12 months. Like whatever it is, whatever segment on your list you're going after, I'm meeting with to discuss their 2025 business needs, or their 2025 real estate needs, or their 2025 wealth building needs, whatever it is. And then, hey, we've not had that conversation yet. Great bridge. And then I want to understand your plans. That's helping them buy, not selling them. I want to understand your plans for 2025 around real estate, where you're planning to invest, or you change that to whatever. Can we get together for 30 minutes in the next 2 weeks? And that should have been a question mark, not an exclamation point. Again, procrastination, or perfection is the enemy of done. So didn't want to procrastinate. There's an exclamation point for it. No, just kidding. Case in point. Typos are okay. Did you know when somebody typos to me, it allows me freedom just to shoot them a quick response back. But if it looks like this perfectly doctored up message, then it almost makes me feel like I got to wait till I'm like really good mindset to shoot them a message back so it looks really, really well. There's a psychology there. So don't let this pipeline planning make you feel like, oh, I got to be so professional about this. No, you need to just reach out to your good clients. Hey, you've been a fantastic client. And now here's some actual scripting around the clients who have grown, the clients who have flatlined, and the clients who have declined. Okay, so let's take growth for a second. And here's a very, very powerful line you guys should absolutely be using with your business partners, if you're B2C, with your customers, clients, home buyers, sellers, investors. If you're B2B, title companies, with your real estate agents, with your mortgage professionals. Here's an absolute line you should leverage in your business. Okay. Hey, David, Tim Hooper here. Hey, I'm looking at the numbers from the last 12 rolling months, and I noticed, David, that you've done double amount of business over the last David, I'm looking at the numbers from the last 3 years, and you guys have grown 350% with our company. Hey, I'm meeting with my best business partners to listen for hear their 2025 business needs. When can you and I get together for 30 minutes? I want to find out what's going well, what are you loving, any areas we can improve, and how we can even grow that number more going into the new year. Boom. That's the script you need for your best clients today, your growth clients today. What's so powerful about that, guys, is when somebody messages me and says, hey, Tim, your spend with me was up. I noticed your investment with our company was up. What does that do for me? It tells me they're paying attention. Mm-hmm. It's two-pronged. It's like, whoa, if I ever move my bit. So the competition who's knocking on my door, who I might be tolerating right now, maybe going out to some lunches with, and then you roll in and say, I noticed, that actually, it kind of suppresses some of the charm to the competition who might be trying to woo me away from you. Think about that. Why? Because, this company's a good company. I've been doing business with them a long time. There's loyalty, and you know what? They're paying attention. The worst thing in any relationship, business or personal, is not paying attention to what somebody's doing with you and for you. So you want to have a ninja, the ninja selling. Everyone's probably read Ninja Selling. The ninja selling, right? Biggest impact below the scene, like behind the scenes, right? It's like you're not big splash on social media. You're not all out. No, you're doing what matters behind the scenes, and you're coming in key moments and selling like nobody else's business. That line will sell like nobody else's business. Hey, I noticed. And I'm meeting with my best clients. I want to understand what you're doing, where you're expanding. One other thing to ask them, I want to understand your opportunities right now and any challenges. And then where are we doing well? What could we improve? And I want to find out how we grow into 2025 together. Right now is the best time to do it, guys. You're planning budgets already, and the best line out to somebody, hey, end of the year is approaching. I noticed. I was looking at the numbers. I noticed. Boom, best clients. David, what would you add before we go to the flatlining clients?
Not really much to add. I think just, of someone who has grown to that level or any growth, the appreciation, the appreciation for it. But again, I noticed, which is super important. And I want to make sure that we're there for you in the future and for your future growth. Most probably that's a growing company as well.
Yeah.
And that's always if you can fill your client roster with really great growing companies, then you'll be in good shape.
If you've not had these conversations yet and you've already put some numbers on paper, okay, maybe you've already planned, maybe that becomes part of your conversation, right? I was looking at the numbers. I'm setting budgets, as I'm sure you guys are at your company, and I'm looking at just looking at the trajectory here. I'm looking at maybe a 10 to 15% growth. Am I off base there? Is that doable? Are we hitting on the value well enough to grow that way? What would it take to earn another 10%? Like, you can bring what you've budgeted to your good partners to them.
Yep.
If you haven't yet put the numbers down for them, I think that's a great time to reach out and say, hey, can we have this conversation? Just as we've indicated with this scripting, can we have this conversation? I've noticed you've grown, and I'm putting together some numbers, figuring out how much more we can grow together. So great. That's how you have a budget, a pipeline conversation as you're doing your pipeline planning with your best customers, your growth customers. Now, there may be some difficult clients who are also growable, but they've not grown with you. Maybe they've been difficult. Maybe you guys have stepped in some, you know what, and you may need to go own that. These are customers who have flatlined or maybe even declined. But let's just talk about flatlined. They just stayed the same. You don't see a whole lot of mobility over there. You don't see a lot of movement. Maybe you're a mortgage professional and your real estate referral partner just changed brokerages, and they've kind of been through some changes, and it's just been up and down. You haven't seen as much business from them. So you understand there's maybe some change and stuff going on. How do you reach out to that person, right? How do you reach out? Similar, right? Similar. Hey, end of the year's approaching. I think you've been through some changes this last year. I'm rooting for you. Listen, I'm meeting with all my business partners, past and present. finding out where they're headed into 2025. What are their business needs? I want to be a resource to you and find out how we might be able to partner more, grow together. When can we invest 30 minutes for that conversation, right? I'm not going to sit there and say, hey, you flatlined with me. But I am going to recognize, and I think, again, the recognition of I notice your numbers are up. You can say something, I know hey, you've been through a lot of change. Maybe somebody's been through some trauma personally, like lost somebody, and you know it. They put it all over social media, whatever. Reaching out and saying, just empathizing with them. Hey, you know, it's been a tough year. Reached out to all my business partners, past and present. And I just thought we could maybe spend some time. Just want to hear how are things going for you? How are you? What do you need in 2025? How can I be a resource? Love to grow with you, but understand things take time, whatever. Empathy is always the best strategy. It's not a strategy. Don't use it as a strategy, but it is. So that's how I reach out to flatlining. I would say in some way. Now, when I meet with somebody and they flatlined, that's where I'm going to probably have some numbers in front of me, right? And in that actual meeting, that's where we're going to talk about putting an agenda together. But for your flatlines, I would actually show them their numbers. Here's the thing. I've been in countless business to business, business to customer, B2C, B2B conversations where when I was talking to a decision maker and showing the numbers flatline, they had no clue that they flatlined. They didn't know that 3 of their branches over here or 2 of their people over here on their team, you know, maybe this broker opened up the door to you as a mortgage professional and they assume that everybody's using you and only 2 of their agents are. Go back to that brokerage. Hey, looking at 2025, putting the numbers together. It's been some great growth with your agents. I just want to make sure I'm hitting all cylinders. Where you guys, what does 2025 look like for you? And dig in, lean in. But I would absolutely in the visit with them when I'm sitting down, I would bring those numbers because that's awakeness, enlightenment. Oh, I didn't realize you're doing everything we need. You're doing everything you promised. Or yeah, I've gotten some bad feedback, David. I've got oh, dude, really? No kidding. Oh, I'm sorry. That's probably embarrassing to you. You brought me in, dude. I understand, right? So you don't know which way that could go. I would take the numbers, and I would show the numbers, right? And that's usually I've done printouts for my flatlining customers. I've done printouts. Can you help me understand? Like, is there any room to grow? And that's where you really need to get on the competition.
Yep.
Where maybe their growth is going elsewhere because they prefer somebody, but they don't want to hurt you. David, what would you add on that?
I think a couple things. First off, to your point earlier, they might not be aware of this, and they might find a branch or division or something that has not followed suit to what they wanted as a leader, as far as doing more business with you. The cool thing is, as you get patterned to do this, and now you're in your next year, so now we'll flip into October of 2025. We're talking about 2026. If you have this document and someone in this conversation has anticipated a 15 or 20% growth and it wasn't there, I mean, that's, you know, that's a conversation. Hey, when we spoke back in October of last year, we had put these things in place. You had mentioned these new branch openings, or the ability to do extra business over here, and we really didn't see it. Was it something that we did? You know, what do you think happened? So years in the future or quarters, if you do this quarterly business review, and that's the key, to do it once and then to sit down on a quarterly basis, especially with those 20% that are going to drive 80% of the business, or biannually, you know, every 6 months, it becomes powerful. But at times, you know, it could be that they're not aware, and it could have been that there was a misstep and you weren't made privy to that, which is very important to bring it out in this process as well.
That's fantastic. And I love it. I love what you said, the pattern. When you start these conversations this time of the year, the pattern happens. In fact, all my best customers that I decided to spend 80% of my time with, the top 20, I would absolutely, while you're having the budget conversation now, I would say when you're wrapping up, hey, if it's okay with you, you know, you're going to hear from me throughout the year. You get our webinar reminders, your team, I think they're all plugged into this, and I'll reach out to your operations manager, make sure they're all plugged into this resource we have, blah, blah, blah. You're going to hear from me throughout. I'll obviously be in touch with you. But could we sit down for this formal, you know, 45-minute, say come March, come first quarter, end of March, beginning of April, and make sure we're clicking on all these cylinders we talked about today, or make sure that you're in. Can we sit down? I would get into a either biannual or quarterly review, and it doesn't always have to be in person. I mean, some of these obviously best clients you're going to want to be in person with, but sometimes it could just be on a jump on. But the agenda needs to be looking at the numbers, looking at the metrics, hitting on some of the value adds we've committed to, or if there was some feedback negative. Hey, I want to circle back, make sure we've improved this because I'm going to get these back to my team, and we're going to make sure we're plugging these holes. So getting into a rhythm is perfect. But then come next year, the pattern's already there. David, that's amazing that you went there. It becomes insurmountably easier. Hey, checking in for our annual, pipeline review. I mean, when customers know they're part of your pipeline and you're like having these conversations with them, it gives them so much freedom to give you feedback, to really become a vested partner with you. It's beautiful. It's like, here's what I think we have to do. We have to look at our customers, our best customers, like freaking shareholders. When they grow, we grow. Period. End of story. So therefore, I'm going to talk to you like you're vested with my company. What do you need? How can I make a better, dividend for you? Meet them like they're a shareholder. Treat them like they're family. I mean, let's stop overthinking this, and let's stop throwing bogus numbers at our pipelines, on our budgets. David, I think when it comes to the declining customer, I think a very similar approach. But here's I think where you have to be careful. If you don't bring an elephant in the room, you may never get in the room. I'll say that again. If you're not willing to bring the elephant in the room, you may not get in the room. Some of your customers who have declined or who have left you, you've not seen them in the last 12 months, you need to go right there. Hey, looking into the new year, the new year's upon us, looking into, having conversations. I'm meeting with my present and past clients, not heard from you in 12 months. That's my fault. Dude, just own it. It's my fault. It's not their fault. If you'll say that, listen, something might have gone bump in the night. Something may have happened I'm not aware of. I would love to meet with you here, understand your 2025 business plans, and understand if there's anything we need to do to improve or to restore the relationship. Now, if they're still doing business with you, but it's petered out, I'd say that. Say, hey, we certainly appreciate your business you're sending. I've noticed it's tapered off. As we're looking into 2025 just go there, bring the elephant in the room, because then they're going to have freedom to get you in the room and tell you, listen, I want to meet. And here's another line I like to use with the people who have petered out. I like to, could we meet? I want to understand your business plans for 2025, opportunities and challenges, but also understand your interaction with my company and listen to the good, bad, and ugly. How we can improve, how we can grow together. You give them that permission right off the bat, you'll get invited to the room. This is not a time to be defensive.
Sounds like Brockway's broccoli.
You got to go eat the Brockway's broccoli. You do. This was a very large client of ours, David, right, who went away and would not answer the phone, wouldn't do anything. So I said, hey, James, something's definitely up. Something's happened. And I don't know what it is. Neither do I know how to fix it. And I would very much value the opportunity to come in, hear the good, bad, and ugly. And truly, he sat us down and gave us the ugly, ugly, ugly. And it was hard to hear, but we listened and we restored a relationship. Found out his son was a drummer and into drum. Found out he only ever drank coffee for lunch. We found out more about this guy and built a deeper relationship through the ugly. Remember that, David?
And he toured us through the plant.
And we got a tour of the plant. We got introductions to other engineers. Yeah, it was great. But we had to go eat. We called it Brockway's. His name was Brockway. Brockway's broccoli. Yep. I'll never forget that saga. That was a chapter in our book, wasn't it? So our sales playbook. So let's move it. So we talked about growth. We talked about flatline. We talked about declining. We gave us some scripts to go out and meet with these people. It's a powerful time to meet. But let's talk about the prospects. So now you're looking at prospective clients. Prospective clients that look like your top 20% of clients that you're going to spend 80% of time with. You need to figure out how to spend time with these prospective clients. So one of the best things to do is, listen, here's the other thing. Our pipelines, our budgets, the way I've always done it as a rep is I plan my pipeline has new customers in it, not just existing. My pipeline has new growth, new agents who have committed to work with me, new mortgage professionals I'm working with, new customers, maybe a referral that has said 2025 is their big year to move, like whatever it looks like, my pipeline revolves around copious note taking and opportunities that I've tried to open in my pipeline throughout the last 18 months. With that in mind, I'm not just going to go scoop all those opportunities and put them on the balance sheet. I want to go have conversations. Hey, are we still looking like January is the time? One of the things, if somebody told you, yeah, they're going to work with you in January, I would reach out now to say, hey, I understand we have January in the books to do some business together. I'm hoping that we can give ourselves a little bit of runway. I'm guessing there may be some questions you have, or maybe your assistant has, or anybody in your company has for me that I would love to answer, so we're postured and ready to go in January. I also want to understand, what are your opportunities and challenges that you're looking at in 2025? And how can we even become a stronger partner right out the gate? Just think about that for a second. Mull over that. That line does not need to be perfect. Don't use mine exactly. Use your own. But hey, can we give ourselves a little bit of runway? I want to answer any questions you have. I want to understand exactly how your process works, so we can start strong out of the gate. I ask people for a runway. I ask prospects. I really want to know in November that what you committed for January is going to happen. I don't want to get to the end of March and realize, bummer, those dollars aren't we haven't exchanged, no. So, and here's the thing, right? It's so much greater than dollars and exchanging that. It's about starting and deepening a relationship and finding the gaps I might not know exist yet. And I don't want to find them out in January. Oh, scurry. No, I want to be positioned well. So look at your prospective clients, those that you're anticipating moving with you, and they're on your pipeline, and figure out a way. And each is going to be a little unique, but figure out a way to reach out, ask for some runway, field any questions, answer any questions they may have for you, dig in just a little bit so that we're positioned well for a strong start out of January. And you want to hear and use the same line. I want to understand your plans for 2025, opportunities and challenges you foresee ahead. Make sure we're positioned strong. David, what would you add there? I know prospects can sometimes be a little bit hard to pin down. They're not committed with you yet.
Well, but you'll know the depth of the relationship by asking the question if they'll meet and share some vision. And if you want to extend it, understanding what the next 18 months looks like, take it past 2025, take it past what I'm going to sit there and budget for the next year. Like where are you heading? The next 18 to 24 months, because now's the time to really position. And also, if you have a roadmap of things that you're going to be offering in the future, now that's a good time to share it as well. Like, what does your future roadmap look like? Solution, services, enhancements, platform, increases, or so that's the type conversation. And we preach and we teach, you should always be touching with value. And if you're sitting back there thinking, well, if I'm just asking these people to spend time to tell me how much money they're going to spend with me, what value is that for them? Well, the value, again, is having that business level conversation of understanding what challenges they're facing, what roadblocks they see in the next 12 to 18 to 24 months. So there is value in there. Especially if you get it to a quarterly or twice a year, if that's a good rhythm. Tim, you brought up earlier about competition. Like you're just shutting the door on competition. Like, this guy's trying to get in, but look at the business level conversations I'm having. I'm actually comfortable enough to share with Tim where we're heading, what other markets we're going into, what our headcount looks like. That competitor's not going to get to that level for a long time if they're even allowed. But if you're just at the surface level, then you're allowing your competitors at the surface level to chip away. We're talking deeply embedding into the relationship and the business relationships. It's hard to unseat that.
When you open your books, and I don't mean confidential information, but when you open up your books, here's where you were when we started, here's how we've grown to today, and here's the value we're bringing. Are we hitting on all cylinders? I would like to bring more value. Could we grow again? When you're doing that, when you're having that level of a conversation, people vest with you.
Yep.
People vest with you. So the value is they have the chance to share vision with you. They have the chance to share where they're going. And if you're listening, if you prove to listen and then follow up based on what they share, that's going to be insurmountably valuable to them and their team. You're literally possibly going to shave off minutes per day for their operators because of a question you ask. Think about the power as a sales professional. You have the power to connect ideas with people, solutions with people by listening and by hearing their vision for the new year, their opportunities in front of them, the challenges they see. You're now able to go put your mind to work for them. Value. That's value. So I think we might want to end this by saying we all probably need to look in the mirror before this end of the year even gets close and say, I'm valuable. I'm a person of value. I speak with value. I'm passionate. I really believe in what I do. And I'm showing up and I'm doing the best job. And just because somebody's not gone back to me, or just because somebody's, told me they were going to work with me and they haven't for the last 6 months yet, and I know they're dragging their feet, I'm not going to let that cheapen and deteriorate what I believe about the value that I bring.
Yep.
I want you guys here listening today get passionate about the value you bring. And by bringing your clients and your future clients into a pipeline conversation, we don't have to say, hey, I'm going to show you how you fit my pipeline. No, it's not about that at all. It's about, here are the numbers we either have on the board or there's no numbers on the board yet, but how can we get some numbers on the board? And just figuring out that conversation. Now, agenda. Let's talk about a winning agenda, because you can start leveraging this today. Whenever you reach out to ask somebody for time, to invest time with you, and they say yes, please start practicing. If you haven't yet, and some of us, listen, we're a very handshaky industry. We're very much at the golf club. We're at the mixer. We're talking, let's have coffee. Let's do this. I see so many professionals not leveraging a calendar invite, just a simple calendar invite. When you're having a business conversation, now listen, if I'm going to meet you at the golf tournament and we're just going to have a 10-minute conversation at hole 9, that's fine. We'll do that. No calendar invite needed. We're all in the same location, same event, same spot. But if I'm meeting with you one-on-one, I need to send you a calendar invite. And that invite needs to be a restatement of the value I'm going to bring. So here's what I would say. Your agenda, or your ask, equals your agenda. Your ask equals your agenda. If I say, David, I want to discuss your 2025 business needs. We've not had a conversation yet, but I understand your plans around real estate, where you plan to invest. Okay, then my number one is going to be, number one bullet point, understand your 2025 business needs. Period. First bullet point of the agenda. Second bullet point might dig a little deeper and say, opportunities you're excited about, struggles you anticipate. Boom. And then agenda number 3 might say, resources you need. Who can I connect, or what can I connect you with? Question mark. At the end of the day, an agenda is something that keeps me on track when I meet with you as a business partner to keep the conversation all about your plan for 2025. Because why am I there? To understand your plan. The follow-up, the solutions, I can recap towards the end and tell you, David, hey, based on what you said, I think this would be valuable. I'll be in touch with some more on that, probably more for your operations manager, probably more for your loan assistant office, like loan LOA, like probably whoever it is you're talking to. You can spell out the value you're going to bring, but this is all about getting to know them and their plan for 2025. The agenda you can start leveraging today is your ask. What do you want to ask them? Here's the other thing. If you don't want to get that complicated, or think about like, oh, breaking this, my email ask down into an agenda, just think like this. If you were in front of that person today, like, close your eyes for a second, everybody. Take your best client, the one that sends you the most business. Think about the decision maker there. Okay, got that image in your mind? Okay, they're sitting right in front of you. What question would you want to ask right now to get to know them and their business and their plan better? What question would you ask? Okay, now think about what they could say to you, and what question would you ask to go deeper? Okay, now how would you wrap that conversation? Okay, by just envisioning that in your mind, there's your agenda. Do not overcomplicate that. You will win in sales if you don't overcomplicate that. Why? because so many times we're going in trying to sell them on doing more with us instead of just helping understand, can they do more with us and how would they, and tell me what I would need to do to earn that addition. Could we continue to grow? We're just asking. We're asking them questions as if they were sitting right in front of us. And then go out to your email or your text message or a phone call and ask them to have that conversation because you want to learn more about. It's that simple. And I'll tell you, if you'll bring people into your pipeline if you'll have pipeline conversations around your pipeline plan, you will have a stronger book of business. You will grow new business. Oh, and by the way, you're going to happen on business because people are going to sit there and say, oh, I didn't know you were looking to grow with us. Yeah, I've got this whole new line. I was thinking about giving. I've had these conversations, David, and so have you. I was thinking about giving this to this. Hey, by the way, do you do commercial? By the way, do you do this type of work? By the way, do you do tax sales? Like, I've had these conversations because they weren't thanking me for that segment of business until that conversation on the pipeline happened. So, guys, powerful thought process. A little bit of maybe flipping pipeline and this time of year on its head a little bit. But even if you've already put numbers on paper and you threw just some guesstimates on there, okay, it's fine. It's better than nothing. Now you start going backfilling. Go backfill that with good, legitimate conversations and tell people, ask people, can we get there? And tell them where you think you guys could go together. David, what would you add when it comes to an agenda, calendar, invite? I know you taught me the art years ago.
I think you were spot on. Keep it simple. I did want to mention that as you're looking at the data, and you brought it up in the scenario of them forgetting a line of business that you carry, even if someone's growing, if they're flat to where they were or they're decreasing, if you can find other areas of business, Tim, we've been blessed. We've grown over the past 2-3 years, 350% from when we started. But what I noticed also is this one area of business, I'm not sure if you're interested in it or you use a competitor, but remember, we can do the commercial side for you as well. Oh, I forgot. So even when the story is really good or it's average or you need to figure out why it's declining, the data inside of the data could be important because they do forget. Clients will push us into a corner of what they think we do. And as we evolve and offer more solutions and services, it's a lot to keep up with. And okay, ABC does this and Tim's company does that. And again, a quarterly business review, a semi-annual, or a one-time business review can bring that back up.
Whatever level, annual, quarterly, a business review is valuable. That's the key. You're going to be able to grow your business. You're going to give yourself the edge. You're going to give yourself leverage in the marketplace because people are going to vest with you because you're having that level of a conversation. The other thing is when you come out of these conversations, it gives you so much to work with. So much to work with. Hey, David, based on conversation, I think your team would value this. It's coming. It's a big event we're doing. That it tees everything else up. So business level conversations, get the 30,000 foot view with the decision makers, and then you could start following up from there. But build your pipelines around real, legitimate conversations. I'll add one last thing. You said it earlier, David. When you're reaching out to a prospective client and you're trying to get some runway before their January commitment start date with you, trying to get some runway, and they just don't answer you back, there's nothing. That's a temperature. So this is where our pipeline doesn't fall into the pipe dream category because I see a lot of pipe dreams, not solid pipelines. This is where and again, this is a whole deeper conversation, but I want to just put this little segue in. If they're not talking to you at all, they may have gone cold. They might have decided against you, whatever. Don't be defeated by that, but I would wait that. And what I mean by waiting, David, we would wait. If we could not get a conversation started in the last quarter of a year, we would, whatever we had budgeted for a prospective client in the new year, we would put only 10%. We would only allow 10% of that to be in our pipeline. We discounted 90% of the budget if we couldn't get somebody talking or communicating with us in the last quarter. Why? Well, we were growing business. We had to have good strategy, not a hopium, but really good strategy. And we thought in our mind, weight it down by 90%. They were in a posture to move with us. So it may not happen now until halfway through the year. And then by the time onboarding happens, it might be like December or November of this year, because we're not going to stop. We're going to keep pursuing them, but we discounted it. Then if they came on board earlier, it was up instead of we had all this business plan and they didn't come on to the end of the year. And now we're not even there. So we would weight our pipelines just like a teacher would weight a grade, right? Weight your pipeline based on the temperature and the confidence you feel, right? In there, how close are they? How, are they filling out paperwork? Have they even started that process yet? Are they giving you any time of day, or are they totally cold shouldering you? You need to just weight your pipeline when it comes to prospects based on that temperature. So pipeline planning, this is where you take your business to the next level, because as sales professionals, one of the things we do very well is relationships, but sometimes relating those relationships to our business planning and their business planning and having that conversation, opening up the books together, sometimes doesn't happen, I believe, as well as it could. So this is where we have to skill up. This is where we go have some strategic conversations. And here's the thing. If you're not having fun in sales, David,
you may be doing something wrong, or we're doing something wrong.
Yep. So this should be a lot of fun. Go out and have a fun conversation with your global accounts. So David, I appreciate you, man. Pipelines or pipe dreams. Thanks for always keeping me on the straight and narrow of pipeline and good conversation today.
Yep.
Thank you all for being here with us. Catch us next month where, David, we're going to be digging into some start, stop, continue, some habits for the new year. So November is going to be start, stop, continue, some one-word mantras. And then December, we're going to do some vision boarding. Talk about vision board and setting a powerful vision for the year to steam past your competition. I'm excited for that conversation. So get ready, get signed up. November the 18th and December the 16th. We'll see you guys there.